Assalamualaikum and salam sejahtera. My name is Nurul Najah binti Muhammad Nazir and my metric number is 18DUP32F1008. For this presentation, I will talk about concept of conservation and preservation. By this presentation, I will list 4 concepts of conservation. Number 1 is preservation of natural ecosystem. What is the meaning of this concept is by emphasis protecting natural habitats to maintain flora, fauna and ecological balance. Number 2, minimizing ecological footprint. By this concept, we can underscore reducing negative impacts such as pollution, erosion, and environmental degradation. Furthermore, local community also have to involve in every conservation activities. That is our third concept of conservation, which is community involvement in conservation. What the meaning behind of this concept? For example, actively involving local community in conserving the environment and cultural heritage foster a shared sense of responsibility. And the last concept of conservation is responsible resource management. Involve using resource responsibly such as water and energy. Include employing technology that reduce environmental impact like renewable energy system and efficient waste management practice. For this slide, I will talk about concept of preservation. I list 4 concepts of preservation such as number 1, strict protection of natural sites. It involves setting aside certain natural areas as untouchable or limiting access to prevent any human impact. Number 2, maintaining cultural sites in original form to protect structures, artifacts, and landscape in their original form, avoiding restoration or alteration that might change their historical integrity. The third concept of preservation, limiting tourist number and activities. To minimize impact, preservation calls for stringent visitor management, including quotas or bans on activity that could disrupt sensitive environment. And the last concept of preservation is safeguarding biodiversity hotspot. National Policy on Biological Diversity (NPBD). This policy aims to conserve biological diversity, promote sustainable use, and ensuring fair sharing of benefit from biological resources. Number 2, protected area. This area provides a safe haven for endangered species and healthy ecosystem. In this slide, I also include 9-step process of conservation and preservation to ensure that natural resources and cultural heritage are protected comprehensively. Let's go all the way to the 9 steps and explain them properly in the context of conservation and preservation. Number 1, identification. Determine what needs to be conserved or preserved. This includes recognizing its value, uniqueness, and significance. Number 2 is documentation. Record detailed information about the object, resource, or sites. For example, condition, location, and history. Documentation ensures there's a reference for restoration or research. Number 3, assessment. Evaluate the current state and risks. These include environmental threat, human impact, or natural degradation processes. Number 4, planning. Develop a comprehensive strategy. This involves setting goals, timeline, and method for conservation and preservation. Number 5, stabilization. Prevent further damage by implementing immediate protective measures. For example, sealing a crack in a building or moving artifact to a controlled environment. Number 6, restoration. If applicable, restore the object or site to its original condition. This is done carefully to maintain authenticity or integrity. Number 7, conservation treatment. Apply method to conserve material, whether it's cleaning, repairing, or using modern technology to stabilize deterioration. Number 8. Regular monitoring. Continuously monitor the site or object to ensure its condition remains stable and address emerging threats quickly. Number 9. Community involvement and education. Engage stakeholders and educate the public. This ensures ongoing support, funding, and awareness for conservation efforts. Following all these steps, ensure a holistic and sustainable approach to preserving cultural, historical, and natural assets for the long term. Skipping any could compromise all the overall successes. That's all for my presentation.
Example of conservation used by tourism industry in Malaysia. So first, the first example is Kinabatangan Wildlife Sanctuary. So this sanctuary offers wildlife tours focusing on orangutan conservation and habitat protection while promoting sustainable tourism practices. So Kinabatangan Wildlife Sanctuary, they promote the wildlife in Kinabatangan, but at the same time they also promote and maintain the sustainable tourism practices. So the second one is Taman Negara National Park engages in conservation efforts through ecotours and guided tracks, promoting the preservation of the rainforest ecosystem. So Taman Negara National Park allows tourists to tour Taman Negara, but at the same time they have to apply and follow some rules, such as they have to minimize equipment or things to bring, and then they have to they cannot throw any rubbish or bring any rubbish during the tour or tracks, and they have to have applies a permit to get into the tracks. And then the next one is Sepadan Island Marine Park. This island marine park focuses on marine conservation by limiting the number of divers and promoting coral reef preservation through education and sustainable practices. So they allow divers, they allow water sports, but at the same time you have to follow the rules. They have limits so that they can preserve the corals from damage and from endangered the species in there. Okay, so the next one is example of preservation used by tourism industry in Malaysia. So the first one is Georgetown and Malacca. This both of these locations are under UNESCO World Heritage Sites. So the works to preserve historical buildings and promote cultural heritage through various programs and tours that educate visitors about the local history. So till these days, these sites are still standing and they are still looking good because they are still preserved by the Tourism Malaysia, because these sites are important because they have a lot. These sites have a lot of historical, and it is one of the biggest historical sites in Malaysia. Okay, so the next one is Sabah Cultural Center. Host cultural events and festivals to promote and preserve the indigenous cultures and traditions of Sabah. So as we know that Sabah can reach with cultures and indigenous traditions. So by Sabah Culture Center, they have everything that you need to know about Sabah traditions, Sabah cultures. So they still preserve it in this center. So the last one is the Lost World of Tambun. Integrates nature and adventure while focusing on preserving the surrounding limestone hills and promoting awareness about environmental conservation through education programs. So as we know that this Lost of Tambun it is a theme park, but at the same time it integrates nature and adventure. So when tourists are enjoying the theme park, at the same time they can be surrounding with nature, and they can still maintain the nature around them. So
Okay, my name is Kogunisari, daughter of Raju. My mention number is 18JUP22F1037. My topic is about environmental impact assessment, EIA, in tourism development. EIA full definition is environmental impact assessment. It is a process used to elevation to potential environmental impacts of a proposed tourism project, such as hotel, resort or recreational facilities before it begins. This is assessment identifies possible effect on ecosystems, wildlife and the local communities aiming to preserve or minimize harm to the environment itself. The third is the AEIA is required to ensure tourism projects are designed sustainably, balancing economic growth with environmental preservation.
okay, so the next one is importance of environmental impact assessment. So first is protect nature. So protect nature helps projects avoid damaging important ecosystems, wildlife and natural resources, keeping nature healthy for future generations. So by protect nature, we can actually conserve, we can actually help to prevent the global heat and a lot of disasters actually. So by help these projects, we can make sure and maintain the environment and nature. So the next one is support sustainable growth. Allows development while making sure that the environment is not harmed too much, so its resources are available in the long term. So as example, in Paris, they have rules which whenever they take down trees, they have to plant it again. They have to plant it again, or they will get punishment, a huge punishment for not planting it back, because it is the rule. Okay, so the next one is help in decision making. So it provides key information about environmental impacts, helping project planners decide whether to go forward, change plans or stops. So when we are making environmental impact assessment first, we can actually see, we can actually check what are the impact of this project. So it won't risk, it won't impact, it won't cause a negative impact such as a landslide, earthquake, flash flood, because by considering and making this assessment, we can prevent these disasters. Okay, and then the last one is reduces environmental risk, identifies potential problems early, so steps can be taken to prevent issues like pollution, habitat loss or resource depletion. So when we reduce the environmental risk, such as we limit factories to free their gas or smoke, we can actually prevent a lot of pollutions, because as we know that pollution also can cause global warming. So by doing this, we can reduce environmental risk and we can keep the health.
Next is procedures of environment impact assessment, that EIA. The first thing is screening and scoping. In screening and scoping, F determine if the project need an AIA and outline key, that is environment aspect to studies. The second is baseline study, that is collected initial data on air, water, biodiversity and community impacts. The third thing is impact assessment. The impact assessment is identify the impacts with a focus on pollutions, habitat descriptions, mitigations, focus on conservation effort and pollution control strategy on impact assessment. The fourth thing is public consultation. In public consultation, we can gather feedback from local communities, stakeholder and NGO, especially for tourism projects that affect scientific areas. The fifth is EIA report submission. EIA report submission is proponent submission. The EIA report project with minimal impact may only require a preliminary EIA, and high impact projects need a detailed EIA. The sixth is review and approval. In review and approval got Department of Environment, that is DOE, reviews that the report and may approve it with specific condition to protect the environment. The last is monitoring. Monitoring is implement ongoing audits and monitoring to ensure all AIA conditions are met. Non-compliance and can lead to penalties or project submissions.
My name is Nura Farhana. Now I want to talk about the example of EIA in Malaysia tourism industry. The first one is the Penang South Islands, which is known as PSI Reclamation Project. The project intends to create 3 artificial islands to boost economic growth by developing a green tech park, residential areas and commercial space. But the project faced initial resistance due to concerns about its environmental and social impact, particularly on marine ecosystem and local fishing communities. PSI project also faced 2 rejections from Department of Environmental (DOE) before finally receiving approval in April 2023. However, after extensive revision and additional submission, the project was approved with 71 conditions to mitigate potential impact. PSI project was rejected due to concerns over environmental degradation, including potential damage to marine ecosystem. It is also rejected due to still not adequately mitigate the environmental risk. And PSI lastly received conditional approval in 2023 after the government included extensive conditions. The second one is Langkawi Development Plan. It is a part of the broader intensive to enhance Langkawi tourism sectors while addressing challenges related to infrastructure and sustainability. The project was rejected due to concerns heavyweights over the environmental impact of dredging activities for reclamation and the potential destruction of marine life, including endangered species and fragile coastal habitats. Langkawi's rapid development raised issues beyond just biodiversity. The island waste management infrastructure is already struggling with a landfill adjacent to Kilim Kars Geoforest Park, threatening delicate ecosystem. Local stakeholders, including conservationists and organizations like Malaysian Nature Society, have voiced concern that the development threatens the balance between tourism growth and environmental preservation. The last one is Kuala Langat North Forest Reserve Development Project, a controversial proposal in Malaysia to designate part of the reserve in Selangor for urban development. The project aimed to convert portion of the forest into urban industrial areas to accommodate growing development demands. The reason for EIA rejection is biodiversity and habitat loss. The Kuala Langat North Forest Reserve Development Project is home to critical ecosystems including mangrove, peat swamps, and habitat for species such as endangered Malayan tiger and various bird species. It is also rejected because flooding and ecological function. The reserve also plays an essential role in flood mitigation and carbon storage. Clearing the forest for development could disrupt natural water absorption system and lead to increasing flood risk in surrounding areas. The last one is inadequate mitigation measures. The initial EIA failed to present effective strategies to mitigate these environmental impacts, particularly concerning the loss of biodiversity and destruction of carbon-absorbing effects.
The conclusion, deforestation is an important step in restoring ecosystems damaged by deforestation and provides hope for the future of our environment. By replanting trees, we not only protect biodiversity but also help mitigate the impacts of climate change, maintain and health water cycle, and improve air quality. Reforestation makes a long-term contribute to the well-being of the planet, creating a more sustainable environment for future generations. Reforesting is an important investment in maintaining the sustainable for our earth. Replanting is one of the must we need to do for our future generation. Thank you.